Welcome to Mysecurity TV. My name's Chris Cubbage. I'm the Executive Editor and Director for Mysecurity Media. We're here at AMS Australia. We're going to be diving into door hardware, particularly for high security situations, zone security under the SCEC endorsement regime. So anyone who's involved in specifications for buildings, this is something that you need to have a look at. We're here with Trevor Leask, who's Head of Product Development. Now, I've met a number of locksmiths in my time. Trevor is actually designing these systems and knows more, probably leading here in Australia in terms of locking systems and locking design. In this particular session, we're going to talk about the AMS 333 self-latching monitoring box. This is your personal design. It's patented here in Australia. Talk us through it.
The 333 is designed in particular to encompass issues with dual lock levers handles. And it's a situation where we have a problem in high security applications where they need two locks on a security door. Okay. One of the problems that we found, and my background is a locksmith, so we used to fit a lot of these security locks to high security applications around Australia. And one of the issues is when you have two locks on a door, as here, which is a security requirement, when the top lock is actually, if the top lock was actually locked, the door wouldn't close. And when you've got a situation where you've got a security door and a fire door, there becomes a clash of these specifications. The security says you must have two locks on the door for high-end security applications, we're talking here. But the fire regulations say you can't put a square bolt deadlock on a fire door. So basically what we've designed here is a product. It's actually an automatic self-latching micro switch box. So it's actually a dual function situation. What actually happens is it will take the door with the lock in the thrown position, but it will also monitor that bolt when the door closes.
And this is specifically for a SCEC endorsed building, or that has to meet a SCEC endorsement.
Yep.
But for a fire door to meet the security requirements of that SCEC specification.
Predominantly it was designed for a fire door to meet the fire regulations, but it's more than that. Okay, it's a bigger product than that, in as much as that any security door that you've got an issue where somebody could inadvertently or deliberately latch the top lock out or throw the top bolt of the top lock out so the door won't close, it's going to be a security breach.
Yeah.
So basically what we've got here is a situation where you've got somebody who's latched the lock out for deliberate reasons, for whatever that might be, or alternatively you've got somebody that inadvertently throws that top lock, which actually means if it is a fire door or a security door, when the door closes it won't latch. The actual square bolt normally would hit on the door frame and it would hold the door open. Yeah. So number one, for fire, obviously fire can go through the door because it's not locked properly, it's not secured, and obviously for security it's not secured if the door's not closed.
So the trick here is really a the 333, this is your latch.
Correct.
Here.
So basically what happens here is when I close the door, the latch itself actually retracts. So it's a reversal of a normal type of lock. Yeah. Okay. Whereas a normal type of lock, the latch actually retracts. In this situation, the actual micro switch box latch retracts. So because the square bolt deadlock won't retract in itself, we have to make this retractable. So basically what happens is when the door closes, the square bolt latch hits the latch here, the striker here, they both go in, and then the outside pops out, which actually locks the door. Okay, that will actually hold the door with a dead bolt, correct? But actually holding the inside plunger in, which actually gives it its secure value. So the security actually in this area here is actually monitoring that the bolt of the lock is actually thrown.
And the other key aspect is that is also alarmed. So,
correct. Exactly, it's actually alarmed. So basically what happens is if this actually pulses back to a central security station, which will tell you the door is locked, the door is locked, the door is locked, and of course as soon as somebody unlocks it, it goes to the opposite, the door is unlocked. So it sends an alarm back. That's actually done through the security system itself, but this product enables it to work that way. But the real key to this product is literally the way the door closes. So in this situation we've got two locks on the door. The top lock is actually thrown, but when I close the door, they both lock. Now that door is actually locked and deadbolted, Okay, so now with that top lock, it's actually in real life terms, the lock bolt is actually being monitored as we speak, and it's sending a signal back saying yes, the door is locked. In case of somebody wanting to actually open the door, of course they can just literally push the handle down on the inside.
Say that would
and
be
I'll show
good
you
to touch
that.
on the other side.
I'll show you how this works as well. So that's really one part of the product. That product, which is called the AMS 62333, it's an automatic micro switch box. That's only one side of what we're actually discussing here today. But the other thing is as well, with the dual lock situation, we had to come up with a product, and this product has been around for quite a while, and I'm sure quite a lot of your readers and people have actually seen it, but it's actually what we call our dual lock lever handle.
In this particular session, we're going to talk about the dual lock lever handle. This is a double lock system, Trevor, that you've actually designed. So let's talk this through.
So what this lock handle actually does, what this furniture does, is it links both locks together simultaneously. So you can, if the door was closed, you wanted to throw the top lock, you can throw the top lock, and they're both locked.
And that's how it would be if it was actually in position.
Closed.
Yeah.
So this would be basically in a night situation. So when the office is empty, or you generally have a lockdown at night time. It could be through the day. You might be a conference room, and you might not need somebody to come in through a meeting or what have you. But generally at night time, that's how it works. But if in case of an emergency or somebody needed to get out of the room quickly, all they would have to do is to pull the handle down, which retracts both locks simultaneously. So I'll just do that again.
Yep.
So they're both locked and they're both unlocked.
And that means it can also meet with fire requirements too.
Exactly.
On egress, right?
Exactly. So this will actually retract both locks simultaneously, but you can also always relock or unlock the top lock manually if you desire.
Yeah.
So normally in a normal secure situation, you have a daytime lock down the bottom here and you'll have a nighttime lock. So this scenario would generally be used after hours. But during the daytime it's used through an electric strike as well.
Now we've got two keys here, obviously they can be keyed the same
Exactly.
or keyed differently.
Yes. One of the tricks with this outside handle as well, which a lot of people most probably wouldn't know, but from a locksmith's point of view, when you're actually fitting a lock to a door, with our dual lock lever handle on the inside here, we've actually designed it so that the gap between the two face plates here is 50 millimetres. Okay, 50 millimetres. And that's a critical size. But what I've actually done, because to be honest with you, I've fitted hundreds of locks over the years, I know that sometimes when people fit locks, they might say it might end up being 48 millimetres or 52 millimetres or whatever. They're not quite precise on that dimension there. So what we've actually done is, although you can't see it, but inside here we have an adjustable rod. So if the fitter of the locks isn't actually precise, if they don't get that 50 millimetres exactly dead on, there is actually a 5mm adjustment either way. So in actual fact, it equates to 10 millimetres adjustment of the handle. So those locks there can be up to 5 millimetres up or down, and we can still utilise the handle. That's all very well on the inside, okay? So now we come to the outside of the door. Well, the problem is with the outside, anybody who's actually fitted locks, I can tell you now there's an issue. Now the issue is when you're fitting locks, the bottom lock itself, the cylinder hole there remains the same because it's within the lock, within the one lock.
Got it.
But if, as I said a minute ago, if the person that's actually fitting the locks actually doesn't fit the distances correctly, and you've got a stainless steel door furniture with cylinder holes cut out on the outside, if they're 5mm out when they're fitting the lock, we can accommodate that with the inside handle. But with the outside handle, because those cylinder holes are cut into it, you couldn't actually put them on because the locks would be out.
Yeah.
So what we actually did there, I designed it in such a way that the escutcheon, this top escutcheon here, is actually adjustable. So if the installer of the locks is slightly out with their installation, I'm only talking, a few millimetres here, but a few millimetres will make the difference of whether you can actually get the handle on or whether it won't fit. Yeah. What you actually do is, there's actually two screws on the inside of that door furniture. You can undo the two screws, and this escutcheon here will slide up and down, 5mm up and 5mm down. So in real terms, you can accommodate anybody who's actually just not quite fitted the locks absolutely perfectly by doing that. So we've got an adjustable inside handle, an adjustable escutcheon on the outside as well.
It's very clever, the whole thing. Maybe talk us through also the
blocker plate.
The blocker plate. In this particular session, we're going to talk about the AMS Australia blocker plate. These are potentially vulnerable areas of the door here, and this is a specially designed stainless steel blocker plate. So talk us through it, Trevor.
There's a number of blocker plates on the market, and I'm sure people are aware of them, but they have a few shortcomings. And one of the main shortcomings with other blocker plates is that they have what they call a peel effect. You can actually literally peel them off the door, because what they generally tend to rely on is studs that go through the door, and whether it's a surface mounted stud or whether it's an actual invisible or a rear fixed stud, they all work on the same principle, i.e. studs through the door. But one of the problems is with them, as I said, is that you can actually peel them off. So what I decided to do was to design a blocker plate that will take both locks simultaneously, as we've already discussed, because that's what the security requirements require. But what it's done as well is we have studs that are actually TIG welded onto the inside of this blocker plate that actually locate with these screws here on the inside. But also, to get over that peeling effect, what we've actually done is we actually TIG welded on stainless steel tabs. So you have 3 screws going through the door with welded studs, and you have 6 screws going into the edge of the door. And what this actually does, it actually stops the peel effect. So you can't get to the edge of the door. You couldn't, if that door was closed, get a jemmy bar in there and try and rip it open, because you're getting two-way fixings through the door and into the edge of the door, which actually gives it high security as far as that goes.
Nor are you getting into the locking device.
Exactly.
Either.
So this is designed in such a way that the distance here will actually completely cover the 333 and also the electric strike within one.
Yep.
So when that's actually closed, you can't get anything down there to actually attack any of the mic switch boxes and or the locks themselves. And also, of course, one of the other things is this is made out of one piece of stainless steel. So whenever you bend stainless steel, you increase its strength dramatically. And also, once it's bent and then TIG welded in, stainless steel, that is extremely solid. You won't bend that off the door. You will not actually rip that off, it just won't happen. The door will give way before that will. Right. So from that point of view, it's a very, very secure product, and it covers up all of the hardware. So, and of course, it's designed to work in conjunction with the 2 locks, so the tabs actually don't clash with any of the face plates of the locks either, and obviously you've got maximum screw points.
In this particular session, we're going to talk about the secure under-door seal. These are often used in sort of red teaming. I'm even aware of hackers using these as an easy entrance point for vulnerable doors. This is for a high security application, so it might sound simple, but there's a lot to it. So talk us through it, Trevor.
When we originally designed the dual lock lever handle, that overcame a particular problem, i.e. a security problem and also a safety issue problem as far as actually getting out of the door with one hand, just a one-handed action. But what happened was when we designed that problem, it was brought to my attention that it actually, although we overcame one problem, yep, we actually created another problem. And the other problem that we created was what they call an under-door attack. Now, from a locksmith's point of view and or from a would-be attacker's point of view, what this actually means is somebody goes underneath the door and they hook the inside of the handle with a piece of wire. Generally they use something like a coat hanger or something like that, and you pull it down and it will release the door.
But there are actually tools that do that.
Correct.
You know,
there is actually
in the industry, yeah?
Absolutely. There's specialist tools that you can do. You can use that for, but your average person would just use whatever they could just to try and get an under-door attack and pull it down and open the door, which you could do. So what we decided to do was I decided that I would design and develop a secure under-door seal. Now, there are under-door seals on the market, but the under-door seals that are on the market are really designed for either acoustic and or dust retention or you know, to stop dust getting in or or
Maybe not for high security.
They're certainly not for high security. They're more aimed at the domestic market, to be perfectly honest with you, in a lot of cases. So what we decided to do was to design and develop a secure underdoor sill made out of stainless steel. It has a 6mm stainless steel bar that drops down to the ground.
Yep.
It has an adjustable plunger on this end. So basically what happens is, when the door closes, the plunger is depressed and the stainless steel bar comes down to the ground. And this is actually,
maybe talk us through this.
I'll talk you through this one. It's most probably a little bit easier. So basically, as I was explaining, this is the 6mm plate here that gets pushed down to the ground when the plunger is depressed. It actually has a removable stainless steel cover, but the trick is with this cover is that you cannot get the cover off with the door in the closed position. Okay, so to get the cover off, what you have to do is you have to unwind the adjuster on the end, and also take out, there's 2 screws here, 2 screws there, that once the door is closed, that's actually caught between the door stops, so you can't actually get to those 2 screws. Once those 5 items are removed, then the stainless steel cover lifts off.
Yep.
The cover itself is actually bent and folded over the back plate, which is this part here. So this part here, once you remove the cover, utilising all these fixing holes, actually fixes to the door. Once that is actually fixed to the door, then you can actually screw that in, test it out, check all the levels, and then unscrew it, slide the cover on when it's all correct, put the 2 screws in either end, and close the door. If you need further adjustment at that time, all you need to do is to screw in the adjuster, and in real terms it has a little grub screw in the end there to stop the adjuster from working in or out.
And then that works against the frame and then slides that stopper down, right?
So the stainless steel plate is actually working on a set of sliders, so that once the stainless steel plate is down, you cannot push it back. It will not go up at all until this adjuster is actually released. And that release is as soon as you open the door, it retracts the plate, which allows you to open the door. Because one of the main things with these is that we had to get an instant release on the underdoor sill, otherwise it would start dragging on whatever the floor material is, whether it's carpet or tiles or whatever it happens to be. So it has to release. So when you actually open the door, within the first 2 or 3 millimetres of opening, the actual underdoor seal has released and the door can then be opened without any scuffing or marking on the frame here. Yeah. And obviously that would be for any floor coverings or anything that you had. So basically that gives you an idea of what we have as far as the 333 micro switch box, the dual lock lever handle with the outside handle as well, the blocker plate, the double blocker plate that covers all of the electrical equipment there, all the hardware, and also the secure underdoor seal.
What type of installations are this most suitable for? I mean, we talked about the sort of SCEC endorsement.
Yep.
So obviously federal government, high security or classed high security. What about other sort of custodial environments, those types of applications?
There's a lot of applications. Although this was specifically designed for that high-end security, it's got a lot of other applications. And to be perfectly honest with you, when you're talking about custodial, that's a huge range in itself. So you've got, your custodial, you've got your psychiatric hospitals, you've got your detention centres, you've got all of these sort of areas where they have situations like that. But also the other thing is as well is that there's a lot of companies out there that aren't in defence per se. They're not a defence company, but they work in conjunction with defence. So that basically they still have to comply with all of the government regulations as far as security goes. There's a lot of applications. I mean,
I imagine even things like strong rooms.
Yeah, strong rooms,
sort of anti
watch houses. Any of those sort of applications where you need that high security. They might not necessarily need to comply with government specifications.
Yep.
But they need that high security level to comply with whatever they're trying to do.
But it also gives them that option to comply with the fire requirements.
Exactly. And that's one of the big things now, because one of the issues is trying to get that through to people, and when fire and safety and security, you've got all of that together, You've got to come up with a product that encompasses all of those in one go. And basically the 333 and what I've just explained to you with the locking scenario there, it has a lot of applications and it can be suited to a lot of different types of industries, security levels, completely different. I mean, you know, it's pretty much endless, to be honest with you.
Well, look, firstly, one, it's great to see an Australian company innovating as well. You've actually gone out and solved a problem that most sort of buildings and architects, security consultants have to deal with every day.
Yep.
So it's certainly great, and particularly being from Canberra, and here we are in Sydney.
Yep.
It has applications across Australia to meet with the Australian Building Code as well.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you very much.
Wonderful.
I do appreciate it, and it's a fully Australian-made product, so what more can you say?
Okay, well, it's certainly endorsed. Look, we've been joined by Trevor Leask, the Head of Product Development for AMS Australia. Trevor, thank you very much for joining us on Mysecurity TV.